Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of the award-winning podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire, and you're listening to the Excelsior Journeys with George Sirois. Prepare to ignite.
Is there a burning desire within to share your creativity with the rest of the world? Do you insist on pursuing your passion by any means necessary? Then you are on an Excelsior journey, and you are not alone. Welcome back to Excelsior Journeys. My name is George Sirois, and thank you so much for being here for episode 76 of this podcast. It's been such a great run so far. We are not stopping anytime soon, and it's just going to keep on getting better and better as we go. If you enjoy what you're hearing, if you really connect with all the different guests that we have here, please make a point to share this show with anyone else you like. Please be sure to push subscriptions. All the likes and comments are always appreciated. If you are an iPhone user, please go ahead and subscribe to the show through Apple Podcasts. You can find all the different platforms available at my website at he'sgotit.com/podcasts. And you'll also see a link right at the top of the podcast page that says, buy me a coffee. That is simply if you like what you've been hearing for all 75 plus episodes and you feel the need to support the show in any way whatsoever, because none of this, it's free for all of you to listen. It will stay free for all of you to listen, but it's not free to put together. There are equipment costs. There is website costs. There are the monthly housing costs for Podbean, all that stuff. So any assistance you can provide, always appreciated, never mandatory. This is simply something there for anyone who would like to show their support, which is always appreciated. Now, earlier this month, we had posted the audio for the webinar Publish Me Too. And before that, a few months before that, there was the original Publish Me, The Business of Writing. And Publish Me Too was Beyond the Writing. And those two seminars, I was brought into them by Dara Kalima, but Dara Kalima was also working with someone else to really make that happen, and that is our guest this week. Tonii Langhorne is a very, very prolific author, poet, and publisher. The man is behind iiPublishing and is also behind Poetix University, which is getting attention from all different poets around the country. And it's going to be a great ride just to hear his story because of everything that he's doing to really push the writing community as far as it can go. And it is a real pleasure to have him here. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Tonii Langhorne. Tonii, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing wonderful. Hello, everyone out there. I just wanted to make one correction. You said we're making an impact in the country. We're actually international. And we're all around the world with Poetix University.
I am so happy.
Don't want to leave them out.
I am so happy to be wrong about that. Yes. By all means, yes. Around the world. That is fabulous.
Yes.
Now, with that in mind, you got a lot that's going on right now. There's a lot in progress. Can you share a little bit with us?
Yes. I just forgot to say thank you for having me on the show. It was a pleasure actually working with you on Publish Me. You gave some great insight for those that were watching and those that were asking questions. I thank you for your contribution to that experience.
Hey, my pleasure. Anytime you want to bring me back on, please do. I'll be happy to help.
We have some things that are coming. So yes,
you will get a call. Nice.
So far as what's happening with us, so iiPublishing right now, we have a lot of people that are coming to us to have us, publish their book, look at their work. Of course, we can't publish all things that are submitted, but we are in the review process right now for our releases that will come in summer. Excellent. So right now we're working on preparing for the launches in this spring coming up, but summer submissions are open. You just go to our website, Tonii Inc. toniinc.com/submissions. And that will...
And it's Tonii with 2 eyes, correct?
It's Tonii with 2 eyes. Yes, sorry.
Yep.
Tonii. Don't forget the 2 eyes.
Nice.
So that's what's happening right now. We also have a lot of events coming that support the literary community outside of just our own authors. We also have our own authors in our own authors events included in our schedule, but we do make room for those that have chosen to self-publish. And we have something called the BYOBB. It's kind of, I call it the Boozy Book Club, but nice. You don't have to have alcohol at the event. We just say a beverage. But you come, it's a laid back kind of environment. And I started it because I wanted to bring the readers and the authors together on one platform where, in book clubs, you tell what you think about it, and then the person that's moderating tells what they think about it, and it's never the insight from the actual person that wrote it. So it's all interpretations. But now having the author lead it, now you can actually get the backstories, and it just creates a better appreciation for the work of writing, the art of writing, and those that create it. And so that is called BYOBB. We did one last year, a series, and then now we did the second. We're halfway in the second one. So I just finished mine last week, and then we have three more that's coming up. So that event is an amazing, and anybody, you don't have to come with the book. We do encourage you to support the author by ordering the book before the event so that you can have it. Nice. But by the end of this type of event, you want to grab the book because you've kind of tasted the essence of the work rather than just reading a book, and it adds more value to the book itself.
That's great.
And then we also have something called the Bounded Conversations, which is just like this, where I sit down one-on-one with the author and I read their book, and then I kind of explore other topics that the book led my imagination to, what was going on in life, when you wrote these words, and kind of get the backstory. So it's another experience that allows a author and their words to go beyond the pages. So and so that's what's happening on iiPublishing's
nice
platform. Now for Poetix University, we are ramping up for T3, which is term 3. So we had 2 terms last year in 2020 where we started this journey, and through COVID and everything, now we're getting back to kind of a new normal. It's still hybrid online. So we're looking at doing another amazing term where we're offering writing workshops, and also we're adding a lecture component where we will be dealing with different topics of writing and also of the challenges that we face as writers, branding, artist development focused type of lectures. And so we're doing that. We're also, and first of all, shout out to my team on Poetix University, Dara, who is on live right now with us, but also the people that are all around the world. So I said that, corrected you, because our team is also all around the world. We have a member from Dubai. We have a member in the UK. We also have, bringing it back here, we have someone from Colorado. And then Dara and I are in the tri-state area, which is, I'm in New Jersey. She's in New York. So it's beyond what I thought it could ever get to. Nice. I was just starting it for the people that I knew here, but it quickly expanded. So outside of that, we also are working on more anthologies. We dropped 3 last year or beginning of this year, but we dropped 3 from the first 3 workshops that we did: Bleed, Roses, and Moist. So all of them have a different flavor, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
So these are the books here. I know you can't see it on the podcast, but in case this is posted,
Right.
But there are three different flavors. The roses is about love. Moist is actually erotic poetry, and then bleed was more about pain. So we have several more to go, but we are working hard on releasing those so that we can make room for what we're going to be doing in the up and coming months.
Wow. That is a lot. That is a lot going on.
And then I'm also promoting myself now as an author a little bit more too. So
there you go.
Revamping that energy.
It's a good thing you got a team to help you out with all of this. Like, this is some real ambitious stuff that you have going on here.
Yeah. So I learned very, very quickly that, I am one person and I can't do everything.
Yeah.
And any idea that you have, doing it by yourself will always stunt its possibilities.
Yeah.
So I am a firm believer in team. I'm a firm believer that one idea can turn into a galaxy when you actually allow other people to come and contribute to it. A lot of people like to covet their ideas, but I'm one that will strategize and then, put an energy out there that helps people want to be a part of that energy.
That's great. I love the one idea can become a galaxy. That's fantastic. And
yes.
it really kind of pushes the whole thing. It's just like, yes, writing itself is a very lonely thing, because it really is, at the end of it all, it is just you and your computer or your notebook or whatever, however you do it.
Yeah.
But getting a team involved, you always have to have one. There always has to be like a cover designer that can give you the best possible cover. There has to be editors to allow more people to really get inside your head. There are beta readers to let you know if you're on the right track. So yeah, there's a whole lot that goes into it. It is not just a one-person job, as so many people out there may think.
Yeah.
There are a lot of different components that go into this. And the fact that you have you do have a promotion team as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Like you definitely need that, because it's not something that I can say, considering your ambition, everything that you have, going on right now, I can definitely see like promotion being a strong suit for you.
Yeah, that is the number one thing. I know I'm very involved in promoting and the marketing on both aspects, the publishing as well as the Poetix University. And there's a certain aesthetic, I guess, or a certain approach that I have to design, not design, but just promotion. With Poetix University, it's more on the intrinsic and getting people engaged with each other. Trying to make sure that people are connecting with each other, outside of just like a business thing, but just in the creative atmosphere, you are much better when you actually collaborate or run your ideas by other people. And that's kind of the origin of Poetix University. It was from a thing that I did called 30 Poems, 30 Days. It was a challenge that I did. And people came together, and it was just that experience that really showed me that creativity is nothing alone. It is everything when it's actually, in a community setting or inside of a setting where you have other creatives that think just like you, or that has that same passion that you have. And it just blooms. And I always like, I'm using the galaxy metaphor now. Even my mission is to create other galaxies. A lot of people say I'm creating empires, but I'm creating galaxies. So it's like, I don't want you to be under my ruling. I want you to have your own brand, because you are here for a purpose as well. And that in your purpose may not have anything to do with me. You have a certain skill or talent that, other people that need you, they need to see that, and not just Tonii Two Eyes, So I'm all about building other galaxies and working with people to help them become better.
It sounds a lot like the way that Image Comics does their thing, because they're all about bringing other artists and bringing other writers and everything, and they get to own their characters, they get to own their artwork. Wow. And the only thing that's really a part of Image Comics as a whole is the image eye that's on the covers. So
wow.
Like that's I mean, obviously they go through the whole screening session and everything. Like, you still have to submit and everything to be a part of them. But when it comes to your artwork and everything, when you're brought in, that you have your own, you basically set up your own team, your own artists, your own writers and everything. You basically get to dictate how your books go. Wow. As long as you stay on time, and as long as you, if there are any sort of like universal issues or anything like that can be adjusted, great. Mm-hmm. But if you have to leave for any reason, then you get to leave with your characters, with your artwork, so that way there's no hard feelings about anything.
And that's Image Comics?
Image Comics, yeah. There's a whole there's a whole documentary on Amazon Prime all about them. I think it's I think it's called The Image Revolution, and it's all about like the start of Image Comics and how they really pushed that sort of independence. And it's really something, especially because the main people that really started Image were all people that have been screwed over in some way, shape, or form by either Marvel or DC or both. So it was their response to that. And that's so it's really cool, like the way that they the way that they set up the whole thing.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that. Yeah, that actually reminded me. We're in iiPublishing. We're actually going to we're expanding to a book service that will be book services that will be offered by us, where instead of going the full publishing route, you can actually come and shop for different services within iiPublishing. So you can keep your publishing rights and everything, but since we have a particular aesthetic, or we have a particular name for ourselves, right. If you want to be a part of that, but you don't want to fully commit, but you want help on your book design, or you want help with editing, or you want help with layout and stuff like that, you can come and kind of shop those services, and that, I guess, is dropping. I'm dropping it right now on your podcast, but it's going to be called.
So we got a scoop here.
Yeah, it's going to be called Simple Book Services. So
Simple Book Services, nice.
And that's simple with 2 eyes. So
nice, nice. Got to keep that brand going.
It's going to be a part of subsidiary of iiPublishing, or department, I guess you can say.
Nice, that's great.
So that's great. Coming in the up and coming months. It'll probably be later on in the year, but we're preparing. We're testing everything, trying to get models out and all of that stuff. So
I love it. That's fantastic. And so with everything that you got going, like, I mean, there's got to be a beginning to all of this. So what I always refer to as the lightning bolt moment. There's always that moment whenever anyone kind of experiences something, or meets someone, or sees something, hears something, whatever, and just points in that direction and goes, that's what I want to do. That's the part of life I want to be in. That's the journey I want to take. What was that first step for you?
Well, I'll use your metaphor, and I would say it's more like the entire process of lightning. Mm-hmm. So you first have to have, evaporation, and the evaporation then has to create clouds, and then, inner positive electrons and all that stuff has to develop before lightning ever strikes.
Nice.
So in my particular case, it started with the book that you see in the background, Her. Mm-hmm. So even before that, it was a relationship that I had to endure to get to the point where I was now dissolved from that relationship, and I was alone. And the only thing I had now to actually use as therapy was my poetry. And through that, I started going to an open mic, and then I started performing my work, and then people started talking to me about how impactful this or that was, the line that I said this, or that you have a certain skill or you have a gift. And then that led to me then putting together her. And then going through that process, because when I first started performing poetry and writing it, I didn't have the goal of actually writing a book. You know, it's always something in the back of your mind, like, oh, I want to write a book one day. You know, I had goals of writing another book, more of a novel, but you know, this landed on my lap. And so I had conversations with people about making books. And so it led me to go to Amazon, and I wrote and I put together the book and I uploaded it to Amazon. And I mean, it wasn't an easy feat, because if you can see, all of the pages are black. Yeah. So it's the opposite of what normal publishing would be. So even the print house, Amazon at that time, struggled to actually make the book every single time like that. So I think my first order was like 25 books, and all of them had the pages off-centered with a little bit of white strip or something. So I had to, I got a refund. Shout out to them for being very understandable, because they are understandable when if you need to, you know, get a refund. You just have to show pictures. But then I guess they worked it out, and they got it where it's consistently black pages. Nice. And so that then led to, you know, me putting out a book. And I started talking with people. They're like, oh man, I really want to do a book. And I talked to people that have been in the performing industry of poetry for like 20 years. And they're like, I always wanted to do a book, you know, I just never got around to doing it. And I was like, I never want to be that person. And I never want to actually have a conversation with someone that has actually had a conversation with me, and that be something that they say later on down the line. You know, I want to be able to change that narrative. And so then I got the idea of starting my own publishing company. And then Natalie, who came to me in an open mic that I used to run, she was carrying around her book for, I think, months. Wow. And she didn't know why. She remembered every poem in it. She knew the document from front to back. And she was in there, and I said something about, I started a publishing company. If you are interested in publishing a book, talk to me. And so she talked to me that day. That was her first time actually ever performing live with poetry. And so from there, 3 months later, we came out with this book, which is called, you can't see it real good, but it's called Out of Chaos. And so from there, that was solidified the idea or the direction that I was going, because I was able to not only take my own ideas and create a book, but I was able to then look into what a person actually wanted to present, and then work with them to create a product, an experience. And so, great. That's so great. Then that led to a lot of everything else. And then the lightning, that was more like most likely the lightning strike. Yeah. So the lightning strike, you know, you don't get one, you get multiple. Or Dara likes to say that I actually have popcorn. So my ideas come in popcorn, and she's there to help, you know, catch the popcorn and put it in buckets. But yeah, so so that is kind of how everything has led up into this moment.
Oh, that's great. That's great. So so at first you performed at an open mic, and then later on you were running your own. Is that what?
Yes. Okay. Ironically enough, I took over the space that my first open mic that I went to, or my first, and actually I don't think I went to any other open mic before I started my own. Then really? I started going to other open mics. Oh, wow. Support.
That's great. Yeah. So tell us about that first time. Like you have the your poem ready. You have the one that you chose that was going to be the one that was going to be the subject of that first open mic, and you're standing up there. You walk up there. I have always been just so respect. I always had so much respect for anyone who gets involved in any sort of open mic, whether they are reading an excerpt from their book, whether they're reading a poem, whether they're doing stand-up comedy, whatever.
Singing.
It's singing, yeah, because it's so raw. Like you're basically just like getting up there and just kind of you're feeling that sort of rush of adrenaline. You're not really. There's always that moment where you could just go ahead and sit, stay seated and not want to go forward with it. But then finally you just like you stand up, you walk over to the mic, and you present something that is inside you. So what was that for you? What was that feeling like for you for that first poem?
So that was not my first rodeo. I have been doing poetry since I was a kid, in front of audiences at church. I was the youth pastor or whatever for my previous church
Nice.
for the longest, and I had to kind of present things from time to time, all the time, and even in high school, I presented things. So and ironically enough, the story of poetry is throughout my whole story. My whole biography would actually have poetry in it. And I didn't realize that because there was a large period of time that I neglected that part of me. And so, so when you start over, you kind of forget or you don't even connect the dots until you're actually talking about it. But I actually had my poem painted on the business school wall of the school that I first attended after high school. I did that with a world-renowned artist, and his wife, which was a world-renowned poet. And we stayed up at nights, painting in the office. And I didn't even realize that my poem was actually in that scale, like at that age. So, and throughout the years, I took Toastmasters. So I conquered that fear of actually stepping in front of people. It was like, I'm going to show you who I am. And that's how I live life now. It's not, I'm not one that thinks about it that much. Like, you want to do a podcast? Let's do it. You could have said that same day and I would have said yes, because I believe in authenticity. I don't have to have the words right. I don't have to say every word correctly, because communication is being able to transfer a particular thing to a particular audience. And as long as I can articulate myself in that way where you can understand what I'm saying, like the fear of that, and I'll go back and I'll correct myself, I don't fear mistakes. And I think that when I stepped up to the mic in that particular instance up in New York, because that was like my first open mic in New York, that was, and just the funny thing is, it was actually erotic poetry night. So it was the erotic poet. So I actually went to that particular environment every single week, and that's where I trained myself to actually perform. So when in erotic poetry, you can say some of the most outlandish things, and the crowd is already prepared for that. So it's kind of a benefit starting off that way, because it kind of gets rid of the fear. Even for people that went there, like, it gets rid of the fear of, oh, am I going to say the right words? Are they going to like it? No, I can say whatever I want. And they will ooh and ah about certain things. And then if you actually are able to kind of play with words and when you in that environment, like, it's a very easy thing to play with words and kind of stimulate emotions and other things. So it was a great experience to do that. And from day one, it was like I came up, and I, like, a lot of people that were there kind of just were saying just raunchy things. Some of them were known for saying raunchy things, but I approached it analytically and intellectually. So I would say something that would maybe have to make you look in a thesaurus a little bit, but then you get it. But you may not have understood one word, but you know, you can look that up on the way home.
And you get the tone of it all. Like,
yeah. So that was my first time experience.
Wow. Talk about
in New York.
Yeah. That's great. That's great, man. So, so having gone through that and having that sort of, you know, that sort of acceptance, really, what was it that made you want to start up your own open mics? What, did they approach you to take it over? Did you approach them?
No, they actually stopped. They had partnership issues, I guess, because it was a partnership that was doing it, and they had issues, and so it stopped abruptly. And so it was like I was just getting out of my relationship, a divorce, and it was like that was my therapy every single week. That was my church, you know. And now I didn't have that, so I hit up one of my friends and I said, because we started a poetry club in Florida, in our community college. So, but in, you know, our timelines went apart, and then we came back. We met each other randomly in New York, like years after I had moved up here.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, let's do what we did back there, but now we can actually start an organization, not just a club for a college. So we started it. It was called Word Vomit Poets.
Word Vomit Poets. It's fantastic.
Yeah. People like that name.
It's nice.
Yeah.
So what was that first event like? You know, you've gone ahead and you've taken over the venue, right? You know, like you just reached back out to that venue and asked like, hey, can we go ahead and set it up here?
Yeah, I met with the owner. And I worked for him actually. Like everything in this timeline kind of just comes back around. When I first came up here, because I attended Columbia University. So when I first came up here, I was like, okay, I got to find a job. So I went to, I think one of my friends took me to his restaurant, and which was across the street, which is called Chocolat, and it's in Harlem.
Right.
And so he owned the bar across the street where the erotic poetry was, which is called Mocha Bar and Lounge.
Nice.
And so I reached out to him, and I scheduled a meeting, and we sat down, had a whole presentation and everything, projecting, you know, revenue and all of that stuff. So he wanted to go ahead with it. So that's how it happened.
That's great.
After I found out that the other place had stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you set up something like a 2-drink minimum or anything like that?
Yeah. So that was one of the owner's, you know, requirements. So, you know, you don't want people just coming in and sitting down
and drinking water.
not drinking, or drinking water, even though we still had that issue, and that's just a open mic issue. But we did try our best to kind of, you know, promote and make sure that we're taking care of the place that gave us the opportunity.
That's so cool. So what was the timeline between making that deal and then having your first open mic presentation?
That was in December, and then we started in February of 2020. I mean, 2019. Sorry.
Oh, great. So you were able to, you know, like get that little extra bit of time to really kind of promote it and get the people's attention.
Yeah, he wanted us in there quicker.
Yeah, really,
because that was like one of his best events at night. But
of course,
we were like, we don't have a name for ourselves up here, so we need some time to go to other open mics and, you know, promote what we're doing and get people here. So
that's smart. That's a great way to do it. So you had just like business cards, flyers, and things like that. And just,
we had flyers. Yeah.
Excellent. That's a great way to do it. Yeah. So, so what was it like for that first time? You did your marketing and everything. You had gone to the different open mics. You had gotten the word out that, you know, like this is going up again and everything. February comes around. What was the attendance like?
Standing room only, you know, it was amazing. Like, we were very surprised that we were able to do it. It kind of gave us the motivation that, you know, again, that we were walking in our purpose. Yeah. And he was impressed, you know, because it was packed. Yeah. And the community's reaction was something that I I cherished,
Yeah.
because the previous open mic was more towards a particular audience. They had a particular following, and it didn't include everyone. And when other people were there, it was uncomfortable. So we knew that we wanted to found something that included everyone from all different types of backgrounds, because even my partner and I had different backgrounds and different followings. So we wanted to make a space that was inclusive, and didn't follow any particular regimen or any particular, the content of the event did not lean any way.
Okay. So it was basically just kind of carte blanche. Like anyone could perform a poem about whatever they were working on.
And we always started off saying, make sure that the content is not offensive to other people, just be aware of that we are a organization that believes in, the inclusion of everyone.
Yeah. And that's gonna, offend anyone. That's
and we monitored it. There was with anything that you have a bunch of people coming to, there's always maintenance that you have to do. So it wasn't smooth sailing.
Right.
And then you also have alcohol involved because it was a bar. So it's like you have to monitor all of that at the same time.
Yeah, basically, like, it's basically just like a 2-drink minimum of truth serum. So
yeah, exactly.
So you have that you have that event and everything. It goes great. Were you doing it bi-weekly, weekly, monthly?
Weekly.
It was weekly. Wow.
Every Tuesday night.
Excellent. And that was were you able to sustain that sort of attendance?
Yeah. No. So during the winter months, it was cold, snow, so those things. But what we always did, and what I focused on in particular, I was more of the marketing side. So I always made these, flyers that made the features look like they are someone, they could be just starting their first feature, but I wanted them to get their fame in that instance, from just the first promotion, so cool. That they feel good about who they are as an artist, and then also that the audience is prepared for, and promoting them, making sure that the audience, the people that follow us, will go and follow them. So
yeah, that's great. That's a lot like the way that a lot of authors put together their anthologies to really kind of get themselves on like the USA Today bestseller list or anything. Like they will team with a whole bunch of other authors, and they'll have a few that are kind of like the name ones that are going to really kind of carry that book to get to the people, to get in front of the people's eyes. But at the same time, like, at some point they're going to be reading their stuff too. And it's all given equal status there. So it sounds great. It sounds very, team oriented. It's like we're all in this together. We all want to make sure that you succeed. And for those of you who are starting up, come on, come on, take my hand. We'll, get you right up to this level as well. So that's terrific. That's such a good, positive way to really kind of get people involved.
Yeah.
So with this sort of momentum and everything, and you get contacted by, you said her name was Natalie?
Natalie, yes.
Yeah. So she goes ahead and she makes the plunge and, reaches out to you with her book. And when that happens, when you're starting to get people interested in becoming a part of a publishing team and getting published and everything, what's that feeling like?
So, it was, I'm trying to think now, because when you're in it, you have a goal in mind. And so I didn't pay attention to kind of the feeling of it. It was very it started me off on the right foot in this publishing journey, because everything was organic, and the things that I learned in that experience I carry over to what I do now in my company from start to finish. So I approached it as, she's not just the writer of the words, she is an intricate part of the development of this idea that will become a book.
Wow.
And so that is the same thing that I do, with every person that I publish, every author. I talk with them at the first, and I let them know that, I'm a self-published author. I've gone through that process, and by you actually choosing to go to us, you are not eliminating everything that goes on in the process. I view it, and I work as I am a brand, and I am creating something with another brand.
Yeah.
So you have a responsibility in this thing coming into fruition, just like I do.
Right.
I have the team and the skills that will edit your work. I have the team and the skills that will make your book, look good, look attractive, make it where someone wants to pick it up and read the words that are contained within it. But you also have to believe in the book. You also have to be there every step of the way to say, this cover matches everything that I experienced while writing this book, So that's how I approach it. And that's what I started with her. I believe in organic creativity. We started off with one idea for the whole book, or first of all, she had an idea when she first came to me, and it was like this. And so I was like, I will take everything that you told me and I will work with it. And by the end, it was not the same idea or the same concept. And she and it wasn't anything forced. Yeah. It was the organic process of creating it that allowed the give and take things, because she came with an idea, but now I'm involved. And this is the same thing I was talking about. It creates galaxies. Now I actually come and contribute my planets to this idea. And now the things that you've never thought of is now circulating in this book. And things you may have had to throw away some of the concepts, but it now made the experience of the book so much better. Yeah. And so the cover, just for one, she had this cover in mind. And everyone has a cover in mind. Usually they want it this way, that way. And this cover came out of one of the meetings towards the end of the process. I opened my tablet, and I'm an artist, a visual artist as well. So my background was a picture that looked similar to her cover. And she was like, "Oh, what is that?" And I was like, "Oh, this is some of my artwork." And she was like, "Ooh, I like that." And I was like, what do you know? This actually would match, because she actually went out, and it's all, and that's the other thing. It's not just about a cover that looks pretty. Her thing as her person, as her personal journey, she wakes up every morning and runs to the water where she stays. She stays on the east side of Manhattan, and she runs to the side and takes a picture of the sunrise every morning.
Oh, wow.
And so when this picture came up, when she saw it, and I connected it with her, and I'm the artist behind it, I'm like, this is her cover. Yeah. And you can see it there. So it's the sunrise or the sunset, whichever one you see. But I use lines to make that come to be. So it was a powerful statement. It included her journey. It included her as an artist. It included her as a person. And that is how pretty much almost every book that comes to be out of 2iPublishing, that's how it happens. I love it. Organically.
I love it. I think that's fabulous. And that's, really at the end of it all, the book that comes out, it's a part of you, so why not take that and push that to the hilt? Because that's only going to get get more attention, because everybody always says that like, oh, like all the stories have all been told and everything is just like a retread of something else. And it's like, no, what's missing out there on those shelves is your take on it. And that what you're doing there is fabulous, because it's really kind of pushing that. It's like, this is my story. This is the world through my eyes. And everyone's got a different take. So I think that's terrific the way you're doing that.
Yeah. Thank you.
So with 2iPublishing, how many writers have you brought in so far?
So 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 right now, and then we have like 3 coming up in the spring. Yeah.
Excellent.
And then I just got a proposal the other day from someone that I really admire. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And then I'm working on those. And then there was another person that I did not know, which I'm excited about that, because it's outside of now, because Poetix is kind of the core. I did kind of both of them at the same time. 2iPublishing existed, but I started investing more time and energy into 2iPublishing at the same time that I invested the energy into Poetix University. But Poetix University took off with a team. Right. And 2iPublishing was mostly me, and then now it branched off and has its own team as well too. So I'm doing both now because I have a team on both sides.
That's terrific. And I actually just got word right before our show started, before this recording. I was contacted by a friend of mine, Elizabeth Daniel, who is a great poet herself, and she mentioned that she had been working with Poetix U. So that's,
oh wow, yeah, wow,
that's great. Yeah,
I didn't even know.
Yeah, so like that's terrific. So so how many authors are you looking to kind of like work with overall with 2iPublishing? Or are you basically just kind of like opening it up to as many as you feel want to come in, or are you cutting it off at like a certain number? Because I know that there are a lot of smaller presses that want to keep themselves small, so that way they can focus on everybody.
Yeah. So right now I haven't thought about a particular number. I am working or accepting things, or like accepting projects in increments. So I have I'm all about group chats and stuff like that. So I have a generation 1 2iPublishing group chat. So these are Natalie, the first 4. Yeah. So I communicate with them all together. And then I have now some of the later submissions that came at the beginning of this year, late last year. They're part of generation 2, which will be late spring, summer. So, and right now it's like 3 authors right now. So I'm looking at like five people every release period. So and that is something. So how I approach as far as paying attention to each one, right now I'm in the building phase, building the catalog. And so in the midst of this has been COVID. So I'm also having to navigate a new business model and a new way of doing business as far as in the literary field, because now we can't do book readings in person or at libraries or at this bookstore or whatever. So I'm the next phase will be, and I've already started making relationships and working with bookstores to get into their catalogs, or not get into their catalogs, but get into their offerings, or I guess their catalog online. And also doing joint events with them to create the experiences around the books, not just selling, because that's also another thing. I'm focused on selling, but I'm also focused on building up the authors as more than just authors. Yeah. So I always talk to them about what they're passionate about.
Nice.
So the book is one that's a product of who you are. That's not who you are. An author is just, and I always give the example of Beyonce, that's just, a stigma. Like, she doesn't have to make music anymore a day in her life.
Yeah.
She built a brand via music, but she was more than just the music. The person behind, who is Beyonce, was more than that. And you can see that coming out now in her fashion. Now she has a business with Adidas, a partnership with Adidas. Yep. She has, things, the partnerships with, I think Pepsi was one of them before. So think outside of just the book. Don't get consumed with book sales. Let it be a vessel to pour into people your message or who you are, and not the entire brand. And so I coach them on, okay, do something on Zoom, an event that you could possibly do. Yeah. Think about all of these other things. Partner with, if you are about mental health and your book is about mental health, reach out to someone that may be in the Institute of Mental Health or whatever, reach out to someone that's doing an event on mental health, or that it has a brand on mental health, and attach yourself, and here we go again, Galaxies, attach yourself with those things, because you're more than just a book.
No, it's fabulous. I love that. I love that message. I love that approach to everything. And I love hearing that you're already looking for different ways to kind of adapt to what we've been dealing with. I mean, obviously, you've been having to deal with it for a while, considering we're going on a year now with all of this mess. Yeah. But that's terrific. So what would you say for anyone who's just kind of starting out there, and they've made their New Year's resolution last month? This is, we're coming up to the end of February right now. In January, they said, I will get myself out there. I will write a book, or I will publish the book, the book I've already written. I will shop it around out there. Whatever their decision is, what is the first step you would recommend they take?
The first step is, and what is your purpose? That's the first. And that is one of the first questions on my submissions to iiPublishing. What is the purpose of your book? And I approach everything in a business setting as well as from an artistic or creativity setting. I do both of them. So when you're going to start a business, you need to know your mission and your vision statement. You need to know why you're doing this and where you're trying to go. So you may not know the particulars. You may not, because the vision is a little bit more particular than the mission, but you know why you're doing it. So, and your why will afford the opportunities that come after that make up your vision. So why do you want to write a book? If it is for you, that now tells you which direction you're going to go. If you're actually doing it for others, then that's a different direction. If you're trying to do it for yourself, then if that's just something that you want to see your words in a book, then I would say, consult with someone about how to self-publish your book. Again, simple will be around the corner, that we will do consultations and with people first, and see if their route is better to go self-publishing or that's not part of the simple part, but that will be part of it. If a person looks like they are trying to reach a larger audience and they're trying to do things on a larger scale, then it may be better to go with, recommend them to go with the regular publishing route. But so their purpose will dictate which route they go. Now, after your purpose is and you know why you're doing it, then you get to what you're doing, and the making of the book. So the making of the book for every person is going to be different.
Yeah.
And you have to know that and keep that in the back of your mind. And it's just like how you figure out your why. So you should be writing your book, or if it's a collection of poetry, you should be selecting the poems that are giving a person, getting a person from A to B.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
yeah,
I feel that poetry has a great power to be able to affect people in more dimensions than one. Mm-hmm. And I think when you put together poetry, I think you should think, unless the intent behind it is for a person to just open it up, right, and select any poem and walk away with that for the rest of the day, you know, and that is a purpose. You want a person to have a daily, you know, a daily poem, a daily dose of your words. But you should start thinking of how you're going to get a person from A to B. How do you tell that story? Because even when and some people may be like, well, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. But even when we're conversing, just like what I told you, I drop the fear because I know I can articulate enough to get a message into the ears of someone, into their brain to understand what I'm saying. Yeah. So the fear is not there. So you're thinking about how you communicate when you're just talking in a conversation. You're not just going to start at the end and say, oh yeah, if you ask me a question like, how did you start? Oh, well, I'm here at iiPublishing now, and we have a lot of books and this and this. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to go back to, you know, there's a structure, a kind of natural way of how we communicate things in order for people to comprehend it. So you need to also think about that, because a book is a communication method. If you believe it or not, it is a communication form. Yeah. And not all people can actually get it, because some people can't read. So not all books, you know, books may not be the outlet for every single person that you're trying to reach. So that's when you think about other things like audiobooks, you know, and so that's another way. But so after you got your purpose and your what, and in this what process is the largest process, I would say, is putting together your thoughts and thinking about it from not just your point of view, but also from the reader's point of view. And that's what we do as a publisher. We think about the person, because that's the customer. Yeah. So you're probably thinking as a writer, I want to write a book. Mm-hmm. Because my words are this, or I want to put together my words for this. And you do it and you read it over and over and over and over again, but you're reading it with your voice and you're reading it for your mind to see. And then you go and you edit. Oh, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound right, you know. But you may leave out that component of what is it doing for your reader. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I put it into my submissions form, so that I can know what is your initial purpose and make sure that that purpose is there through the reader experience. Yeah. So when you're self-publishing, you may not be able to do that to the best of your ability, because, you know, you have yours, but you can always get other people to read it, which is another thing. Get other people to read your work. And that is part of the what, when you're creating it. Mm-hmm. Get other people to read your work. Make sure that's your initial kind of testing. What are they getting from it? And don't get people that's going to say, oh, this is great. You know, you don't want those people that's just going to read it and say, oh, this is great. You know, it's as much as it builds up your confidence, you do want the critical eye. So someone around you that will give you the truth, that will invest the time to actually critically look at your work. You know, even if it is, you want someone to actually tell you, oh, you forgot a period here. Yeah. You know, not just read it and say it's great, but you actually missed a period here. You want somebody to actually have that critical eye. Excellent. And then after you get the what, and then you got to get the how. How are you going to get it out to people? So you already thought about it when you thought about your purpose. If it's for you, then the how is to go self-publishing. But this is another point where you're going to think about it. Now that you've made it, it may have changed. And after now you've gotten feedback from someone, it may have changed because their feedback is like, oh, wow, reading your words actually brought me to a place. Yeah. You know, reading your words actually made me change my thoughts on this. You know, those are all indicators that you actually have something that can change someone. And, and that's when you actually may develop a different purpose. So your how, are you going to go this route and then hustle, self-publishing route, be in front of people, make a strategy, ask people that have a lot of followers to support you, ask people that you know, ask a lot of people that you're doing this book, you know, you're putting it out, can you please help me? And so then these are things that you get into when you're talking about the how. If you go the how, where you're actually working with a publisher, you know, research means to actually give up your publishing rights. What does that mean? Yeah. I walk all of my authors through the agreement line by line. It feels like an orientation at a school, but I do it because I don't want you to be ignorant. I don't want you to just be like, sign here, I trust you. No, because when it comes down to it, if something happens, I don't want you to say I never knew about it. And when you're talking about business, you know, you never know what's going to happen. So I walk everyone line by line. If they have questions, I've had people that actually had lawyers look over the agreement, and I've had my lawyers look over the agreement, so I know that things are sound legally. But and then the lawyer that you get to look at it also matters, because I had a deals, I forgot what he was. He was like a deals lawyer, so he handles like deals and things that companies do with each other. So he looked at it, and he didn't really grasp the concept that it's not a deal, it's actually an agreement. You know, and it's like, okay, so you're giving this right, what do you get? Like, this needs to be detailed, and how many books are you going to sell? Are you going to print? And how many? And I'm like, that's not how the agreement works. But so those are the things that get you to this point of publishing. And then after that, I'm just giving you everything to so that they can know what's to come to. But after that, then you're now still in the how, but now you have to think about your brand. And the whole thing should also include brand too, because branding should be a part of that. And your brand should have that story in it, how you came from one step to the other, and your purpose should always be inside of your brand. So what are you trying to communicate to your people? And then make decisions based off of that purpose. If you do that, you will build a galaxy that will run on its own, or that will afford opportunities that you never could have actually known back when you first started. I started, and my little mission statement thing includes the passion for people and poetry and creativity. I said poetry before, but it's creativity. So everything that I do right now is passion for people and creativity. So excellent. It doesn't matter what I involve myself with right now. My brand, everything that I associate myself with, will have passion and passion for people and creativity. What is it doing on the people level, and what is it doing for their creativity? So excellent. There we go. Sorry for the long answer, but
no, that's fine. That's fine. That's always a good thing, because there are always, aspiring authors, or, those that are really just kind of getting their works ready for any sort of publication, whether it's going to self-publishing route, or whether it's submitting to agents, whether it's submitting to small presses, whatever the case. So it's always good to make sure that they're as educated as humanly possible. Just like you said, you don't want it to be you don't want them to be ignorant of the process. You don't want them to just go ahead and just sign on the dotted line and then that's it. Yeah. So there's so much more that goes into that, and I'm really glad you shared all of that. Yeah. So where
I wanted to correct, not correct, but touch on one thing you just mentioned, it the submission part.
Yeah.
So because I just walked you through something that didn't have the submission part. So submitting your work after you have made it is actually a thing of its own. Yeah. So you may submit your work and you're not going to hear anything back from someone, and you may have to submit to a lot of different publishing houses, and all publishing houses are not the same. I specialize, or 2iPublishing specializes in the poetry, and also we're going to get into novellas and novels and stuff like that, nonfiction, coming up. But that's my specialty. So I'm not strong in the other realms. In the market is, or the reach has not developed yet for novellas. But that's not saying that it can't break into it. But I do specialize in poetry, and then also to touch on the process as well. If they're getting started, the other thing that they can do is submit to anthologies, which is a great entrance. It's kind of like a internship into the big thing. You know, it's a resume builder too, because that's another part. You know, when you get further down the line speaking, you know, it sounds a lot better when he says this person has been published in this anthology and this anthology and this and this and this and this. It creates more accolades rather than just, oh, they published a book, you know. And it also goes to your craft. If you have passed and if you have strengthened your craft to the point where other people are accepting your work into anthologies that, you know, that may be about a range of topics and a range of expertise, people with expertise, and you got in, you know, and everyone else did not get in, you know, other people did not, then that says something about your craft. So I would say that's another starting point as well.
Excellent. And where can our listeners find you on social media? So on my personal page is Tonii, 2 I's, Tonii, the number 2 EYES. If you want to follow me, and it's also Tonii Langhorne on Facebook. There is 2iPublishing on both platforms, iiPublishing. And then there is also Poetix U, POETIXU on Instagram, and also on Facebook. Excellent. And I have other things that I'm doing, but those things are outside of the literary scope. So you can follow those as well if they catch your interest. And you can also follow her. She has a page too, Heard the Book. So I just started that just to kind of give, you know, people a way to attach to the book, because it's its own thing. Just kind of, you know, letting her leave the nest a little bit. Yeah. So those are and then also subscribe to ToniiInc.com, TONIIINC. We're doing a lot of stuff in the Tonii Inc. universe, galaxy or universe, solar system, whichever one. So we have a lot that's happening there. So we're starting to communicate with our subscribers and let you know, keep you in the know of what we're doing and how you can support, as well as maybe something that you're interested in being a part of. Excellent. And just like what Tonii had said from the beginning, when it comes to this, writing is a very solitary exercise. It is something that, as I said before, when it comes down to it, it is, you know, just you and your ideas, you and your screen and everything. But having someone behind you that believes in you and wants to take your idea and turn it into a galaxy, That is something that is absolutely valuable. And it's something that I hope that all of you are able to get the opportunity to go ahead and get your own ideas and get them made into Galaxies. Because once that happens, once ideas grow to that level, then there really is no stopping you. So I want nothing but the best for you. I want all of your ideas to turn into Galaxies. And for Tonii Langhorne, this is George Sirois saying to all of you, ever upward. And I will see you next week.
Today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. If you've never been an Audible customer and want to see what they offer, just go to www.audibletrial.com/ExcelsiorJourneys and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title for free and start listening. It's that easy. Why Audible? Audible content includes an unmatched selection of audiobooks, original audio shows, news, comedy, and more from the leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, and entertainers. And with this free 30-day trial, you'll have your pick of it all. You can hear books of all genres narrated by Jim Dale, Stephen Fry, Will Patton, Alex Hyde White, Jeff Brick, Neil Shaw, William Demerit, and even a few by me, George Sirois. So go to www.audibletrial.com/ExcelsiorJourneys and start your own 30-day journey with Audible today.